Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then, on April 27, 2017, the Chiefs broke free from their journeyman quarterback restraints and drafted Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
In 6 years with Patrick at the helm, we're back-to-back champs and a dynasty headed towards a three-peat. We are unrelenting for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies. Arrowhead Allies.
Welcome to Arrowhead Allies. On this show last week, Shane Williams asked one simple question. He said, when you're looking for a three-peat, what is the thing that derails said three-peat? We looked at the Patriots, asked the Denver Broncos, the Dallas Cowboys, and now Shane Williams, we must face in the mirror, just like Atreyu did in the Never-Ending Story in the Mirror Gate, look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, how can this three-peat be derailed? And the Chiefs, one Chief in particular, is doing a good job of trying to make that happen this offseason. That man, Shane Williams, is Rashee Rice from SMU.
And it's really unfortunate, when you look at the breaking news just from an hour and a half ago. It's he was at a bar at 2:30 in the morning. I don't know if it was last night or Sunday night. After what happened to him on March 31st, he had no business being at a bar causing any trouble at all. Even if he was provoked, he has to stay out of trouble. It's very disappointing. I wouldn't be surprised, God forbid, if he's released by the end of the week. I hate seeing it. I hate saying it, and I hate seeing it. This is really unfortunate. We saw what happened with Kareem Hunt. Clark Hunt didn't put up with that. Rashee Rice got a second chance, and he was at a bar getting into it with a photographer. Whether it was a photographer or a paparazzi, it's a bad scene. What do you think, Lance?
Well, I think what happens now is it's pretty obvious that Rashee Rice no longer has the benefit of the doubt. We saw just a little over a month ago, we now have exclusive understanding that Rashee Rice was involved in that situation and the accident, driving 119 miles an hour. Both cars were in his name. We know that story. So you'd assume that no longer a problem with Rashee Rice. He's going to keep his nose clean. He's got great representation. He's going to take the slap on the wrist legally. He's going to get hit at when it comes to the NFL side of things. He's going to hopefully learn his lesson. And now here we are, less than 5 weeks since then, with another situation. Now, obviously, we're hoping this isn't true to the extent of what we believe could be the worst part of it, which is him actually assaulting a photographer, paparazzi, whatever you want to call him. We know the report was that it was called for an assault. No charges have been put out yet. I actually talked to my source out in Houston, who also represents in Dallas as well. I asked them what their initial thoughts on this is and what they've heard so far. What they told me was, quote unquote, not enough details. It seems is charged as a class A, could be charged a class A misdemeanor. It's possible his bond could get revoked on an accident case, but these assaults with photographers and whatnot typically involve a level of self-defense because as the believed is it was reasonably necessary to protect himself. And if that is the case, then it's an easy case to beat. End quote. Now, obviously, that's what we're hoping that is the situation. We're hoping that Rashee Rice was just like, hey, man, get out of my way, shove the guy out of the way, and it's not as big of a deal. But when we look at the situation when it's a nightclub, 2:30 in the morning, he's already had an issue just recently, maybe not the same situation, but again, you do not give the benefit of the doubt in this type of situation when you've already had something happen so recent in your life that could risk your NFL career, your life, other people's lives, things of that situation. And that's the problem, man, is that now we're sitting here, and I don't want to make a joke out of this because this could be a very real situation, but simultaneously the same day we're hearing Brett Veach and Andy Reid garner confidence in guys like Kadarius Toney and talking about how they still believe he's going to be something on this team. And then we have the one hopeful draftee so far that Brett Veach has drafted at wide receiver doing another alleged stupid thing outside of football. It's been a rough day for me, man, from a football perspective, from understanding what the hell is going on through this guy's head. And hopefully people now understand, and not to drag this too far out, but hopefully people now understand my stance when I'm always hammering the point home that the Chiefs need to go and fill their wide receiver room with more veteran presence. Go and get guys that are grown-ups, adults, that Patrick Mahomes knows he can rely on. Even the worst signing that Veach has ever made at wide receiver, which was MVS, you never heard about this guy being an off-field problem. In fact, he was a leader. Guys liked him in the locker room. They rallied around him even when he had his problems on the field. So that's something I can live with if I know the guy's not going to be causing problems on and off the field. This is the reason why I have that. It's such a big thing for me. And all in all, is Rashee going to get cut like Shane's suggesting? That is possible because we know that Clark Hunt absolutely hates distractions, even if he went to the same alma mater at SMU. But I think all in all, guys, I don't think at this time that's going to happen. I do believe that there's a great chance he doesn't play football this year with all this tack now on. I think that is a very strong possibility. Brian said before the show there's a chance, and I don't want to steal your thunder, Brian. I know you'll expand on this, but there's a chance that he might not be here for the long term. This is something we talked about on the last Allies show when we talked about maybe you pay a trade for a Brandon Ayuk or a DK Metcalf and give them that money as opposed to paying Rashee Rice, who you now have real trust issues with, and you can go get a grown-up, a guy that might even be better, and a guy you can trust off the field. But all in all, the way I see it, again, with the Toney confidence that we're seeing from Brett Veach and Andy Reid, whether it's truthful or not, if they're not going to cut Kadarius Toney for dropping the ball on the field, I have a hard time believing they're going to be cutting Rashee Rice for dropping the ball off the field. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's a lot for this young man. Early success. It's really a daiquiri of a lot of things. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for anything that he's done. I'm just looking at it for how it is. But young guy, early 20s, a lot of success, Super Bowl champion, and now he does these things in the off season to expand his spotlight, but of course not in a good way. And now the pressure's mounting. And some folks just don't know how to deal with these things. It's just as simple as that. When you mention the veteran wide receivers, and guidance is definitely needed in this situation. Perhaps there could be somebody that could be in his ear like, hey, bro, don't do this, don't do that. Go here instead of going there. You need to let go of those friends and not have these friends and this, that, and the third. So I think, guidance is definitely something that's clearly lacking with Rashee. And I don't want to incriminate our young brother, because I know that he's going through a lot with, the not smart decision he made several months ago, and which led to who knows what happened with this assault with a photographer. We don't know what happened. They probably could have said something that was stemming from the incident earlier, and that's what I say when the pressure is mounting. It becomes a small ball, and it turns into a big ball if you don't control it and you don't have the type of guidance that Rashee Rice needs. Now, my point with him not being here longer than his rookie contract will extend, I think that'll hold true. I don't think the Chiefs will cut him this week or after this year, anything like that. A trade is on the table for damn sure if a team wants to bite. But don't expect for this is how I would imagine the Chiefs operate. Like, and I have no inside sources of any of that. This is just me and how knowing them, watching the press conferences, and knowing this team, okay, of course they will cater to Patrick a little bit. He's a quarterback. He's a star. Without him, we're nothing, period. And of course, they're going to understand from a coach's perspective how important he is for Andy Reid. Okay, Brett Veach has done his job. But Clark Hunt, I believe, in certain situations, has diplomatic immunity, I guess, for lack of a better term, or he has the final say. That's a better term for this. He has the final say on, we're doing this with this player, and I don't care if he fits in the scheme. I don't care, what the contract is or whatever. This player we're definitely not messing with. All right. And I think, unfortunately, Rashee Rice has moved himself into that realm of okay, we're going to keep him on the team for now because, rookie contract and a possible wide receiver one on the team. We'll deal with, with the issues right now. But it's when you're starting to make 30 mil a year or, 25 mil a year or whatever. And then I don't know if we necessarily want to deal with these issues, especially with the quality of talent wide receivers coming out. So, yeah, I just wouldn't expect to see Rice and number 4 on a Chiefs jersey for more than 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something to that real quick because I think Brian made a great point about the autonomy that Clark obviously has as the owner. Clark Hunt has as the owner. When it comes also to the brass of the Chiefs, this is something that we need to start paying a really close attention to, guys, because we joke about it. How frustrated we are in the past of the Chiefs not drafting DK Metcalf, George Pickens, but they went and got Sky Moore, they went and got McCole Hardman, who obviously just were not the same players those guys are. The pressure is going to really start to mount on Brett Veach. This is something I tweeted out a little bit ago before the show started, that, we could sit here and talk about how great of a job Brett Veach does as the Chiefs GM is in a general term. He's done an incredible job being able to, fit pieces around the pieces that John Dorsey originally drafted that became the superstar players that have helped lead the way. He's fit a lot of star players around those guys, and we got to give him credit for that. But the one position that he continues to whiff at, and if these allegations are true, which again we don't know yet, we do know that the driving one was, and we do know that there's now another situation that is alleged. If this is real, the Chiefs are going to have to start really thinking about, do we change the way we view this wide receiver position? Because again, they've yet to pay real money at that position since Brett taken over. And they've drafted numerous times at that position. And to this point, he has whiffed almost every single time. Now, Rashee on the field, we all know, looks very promising. This dude could be a stud in this league and was last season, even with being essentially just shallow crossers. But having said that, it's got to be consistent on and off the field, man, because it feels like it's one or the other now, man. It feels like there's always a problem somewhere where, they traded for Kadarius Toney. He hasn't panned out, can't catch the ball. Sky Moore doesn't run his routes correctly. Maybe they're not using him correctly. Now, Rashee Rice, well, the off-field stuff, it's really starting to mount. And I think that is pressure because we know that wide receiver is such a pivotal role for this team and getting Patrick Mahomes some help because, as we know, not just losing Tyreek Hill, but not having that veteran presence, like I said, that he can rely on and go to outside of Travis Kelce, who is aging, who's going to be 35 years old this year. We don't know how much longer, and we know how much longer he wants to play. We don't know how much longer his body's going to go. And we got to quit just assuming that well is going to continue to bring up resources. You've got to start adding other wells, man. And so far, Brett Veach has just not done that on the offensive side. And that is starting to worry me a little bit. And I think if Chiefs fans are being honest with themselves, they are too. They just don't want to admit it.
Yeah,
Lance, you sound like you. I'm sorry, no, but I gotta have this dance just real quick. I just gotta put this in. Lance, you sound like we're not back-to-back Super Bowl champions, fam.
I knew you were gonna say that, Brian, and I appreciate that. But here's the problem: you, Brian, you're one of the smartest dudes I know when it comes to Chiefs Kingdom. You know how unfun last season was, right? You saw how
it was a wild ride
before the season started. Before the season started, I specifically said that if they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, which I did pick them, by the way, I said it's going to be the toughest season on Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and their defense is going to have to be historic. Those three things happened. But how often can you honestly rely on those three things to happen? Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are great. I call them the go-to connection, and they built an awesome defense. But you cannot expect last season to be replicated. That was a special season where also Joe Burrow got hurt and got hurt early. How often is that going to be the case where he isn't playing into the postseason? And that's been the Chiefs' only true rival, if we're being honest. So you can't expect their offense to scrape and claw for 20 points and get as a 3 seed and then win 3 straight road games. That's just not the reality that you're going to live in, man.
I understand. No, your point is well taken. You just sound so like you're not enjoying the ride right now. Like
last season wasn't fun. Last season wasn't fun.
And I get that we won a Super Bowl, fam. Come on. Like
one of the great postseason runs in NFL history. It was, according to the numbers.
That was worth it. Seeing L'Jarius Sneed on that dominant run, to me, the postseason was definitely worth it. Look, but your point is well taken because it's like you don't want the ride to end.
Exactly.
You don't.
Exactly.
And I get it. I get it. But man, we gotta be realistic, bro. We have to be. If we don't 3-peat, bro, would you call that a failure? If they I guess for Patrick Mahomes standards.
Well, let me ask you: do the Chiefs not have Super Bowl or bust standards now?
Yeah, but like. How many fans experience back-to-back Super Bowl champions? It's only been 3 teams in league history, 3 or 4
Niners,
teams in league
Cowboys,
history.
Patriots.
If we took a question right now, all 4 of us.
All I'm saying, Lance, hey, baby boy, enjoy the ride. Enjoy it. It may end, but enjoy it.
And I'm sorry, Noah. I'm taking all the time here.
Go ahead.
But hear me out. I whether you believe it or not, I genuinely do. When the Chiefs win Super Bowls, I haven't not cried. Okay, it has been beautiful.
James.
Those have been moments of I waited my whole life for. Like obviously it's an emotional thing, but it's like family, and I mean this literally. You have family members that you love and want to see them achieve greatness, and they do things that just drive you nuts, and then they end up pulling it out of their ass at the end. You're like, oh, thank God. Gee, I was so freaking worried. That's how I saw the Chiefs last season in particular. They made so many bad decisions at wide receiver in particular that when I saw their offense clunk and clunk and clunk, I'm like, this is exactly this. Like, it's like, I love you, man, when he gets hit by the golf ball. This is my nightmare. That's literally what I was feeling last season. This is my nightmare because I know there are only so many seasons we're going to get of Patrick Mahomes, let alone prime Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to see a single season be wasted. Because this man is only going against Tom Brady now. That's the only thing, in my opinion, he's going against. So I want to see this win as many Super Bowls as possible because I don't believe he can afford a 10-year gap like Tom Brady. Because I don't believe that other quarterbacks are going to play till they're 45. Some guys are just not that lucky. Most guys are not that lucky. That's the thing about Patrick Mahomes. We got to capitalize now. And when I see something that is a vacancy, when I see a crater, a glaring hole at a position that could cost the Chiefs a Super Bowl, just like last season, that wide receiver room could have very well cost them the Super Bowl if they would have just kept going the same route they were going, throwing Kadarius Toney out there, throwing Sky Moore out there, but they didn't. Even they had to make changes and just hope for the best and hope that Travis Kelce could go God mode. And that's exactly what happened. But you can't assume that's going to happen again this year. You've got to learn from your mistakes, man. And so far this offseason, even though, yes, Hollywood Brown's a good signing, hopefully Xavier Worthy pans out. At this point, man, I'm wondering if they truly did because they still haven't added enough veteran presence in my eyes to help the maturity and the process of maturing in this league for other guys while also being productive as a reliable asset as a veteran player like a Juju Smith-Schuster, like a DeAndre Hopkins, like a Tyler Boyd, like an OBJ, guys that have learned from their own mistakes as young guys in this league. That's what I was hoping to see the Chiefs to bring into the equation this year, and they simply have not done that. And that is why I'm worried about this room, man.
Yeah, we got Vanessa Parker chiming in on the TikTok side of things saying, I agree 100. Hey, guys, I would recommend that Rashee Rice move to Kansas City, and that might be a good idea, the Dallas area. It's not agreeing with them. Michael J. Donegan came up here saying there are going to be big holes across the middle for anyone to get open. Next man up. He also talked about the report saying that there's a fractured jaw for the cameraman. If those reports are real, Stephen St. John tweeted out a story from Instagram, and it came from Big Mouth Media too, which ultimately came from the original source, Dallas Global, again, talking about Rashee Rice. There was an altercation with a celebrity cameraman that resulted in a fractured jaw for the cameraman. Eyewitnesses say that tensions escalated quickly when the cameraman who was trying to capture footage of Rice allegedly got too close for comfort. What followed was a physical altercation that left the cameraman with a serious injury. These are rumors. We're not sure about where Dallas Global again's getting this information. So we don't know
that
if this
video
is
gonna
fixed.
drop
If it's
so
true,
fast this week.
Yeah. If this is
TMZ
true,
gonna be all on y'all.
TMZ and Starcade Media will have you covered. On
That's
all
right.
things. Right.
Look, Noah on the scene in Dallas.
Lance, you're wearing a Pulp Fiction shirt right now. The Kansas City Chiefs have shown that they are the wolf, the Harvey Keitel of the National Football League when it comes to fixing these problems. It goes all the way. And maybe Brian's right as well when it comes to maybe there's some layers to the fixing, to what the Chiefs are capable of, or who they will fix things for, and who they will not. We know Kareem Hunt wasn't so lucky, but we know guys like Tyreek Hill was. We know that that they've gotten in on this Rashee Rice situation, that Clark Hunt is tied in. The Hunt family is very much tied into the lawyer, which I believe was a politician there in the Dallas area, very tied in. And the Chiefs are the wolf, Lance. So with that being the case, how far and how much should the Chiefs stick their neck out for this second round pick when there's too many unknowns here? And there's is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm sorry, I'll say it right now. The Chiefs covered up a drinking party for Britt Reed that almost killed a girl a couple days before Super Bowl 55. They did. But they got the wolf with your shirt on when their Harvey Keitel shows up, and we're good to go.
This is why I appreciate the crew that I'm with here at Starcade Media, and in particular Arrowhead Allies, because I wore the shirt particularly for that reason tonight, because I was hoping someone would have the wolf reference for me, because that is exactly what I was hoping to talk about tonight, is that the Chiefs are going to have to be Harvey Keitel in this situation. Now, my question, which is a great question from your side, is the same question I'm going to ask, is how far is it worth it to them? Because you're right, man. When we saw Brett Veach stand on the podium after the initial Tyreek Hill audio clip came out, the first one, and all of us were sitting there going, they're really defending this dude? Like, we heard the audio clip, that sounded terrible. And then 2 weeks later, not even that, we get the full audio clip, the true one, the unedited version. And then what do you know? Tyreek Hill's not suspended a single game. He's essentially proven to be an innocent man, and he never looks back in the past from that situation. And we're all sitting here going, oh, well, that makes sense. The Chiefs knew the truth. So the problem with this, though, is if any of this is true, alongside the truth of what we know about the first situation, it's a completely different situation for the Chiefs to handle. So the Wolf might have to handle this one a lot differently, where they might have to clean up things in a different way. And this is why I also said, and Shaggy may not be right, but he also may not be wrong when it comes to what the Chiefs might have to do in this situation. Because, again, we know how Clark Hunt handles things. Not to get ultra controversial here, guys, but the Marcus Peters situation was pretty ugly, if we're going to be honest here. I don't think Clark Hunt liked some of the things that Marcus Peters was doing in the climate of the situation that was going on with Colin Kaepernick. And I think that was a situation that Clark Hunt didn't like. He didn't want that on his team. Whether we agree or disagree, we all can have our different opinions. But I think that Clark has shown us more times than not, he doesn't want distractions on his team. He wants things to be cool and smooth and very conservative, easygoing. He wants the guys to be, having fun when they're winning conference championships and Super Bowls. But outside of that, let's keep everything very in-house. And that's why Andy Reid fits so well, because Andy Reid's really good at controlling the situation with players and things of that nature. But when you have a guy that is literally out here allegedly doing these types of things, it's really hard to hold on to it and say, hey, you know what, we can fix this, we can clean this up, because it's out there in the public eye. This is not the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s where you can bury things away. This is why guys like Michael Jordan got away with a lot of stuff they did, because not a lot of people could see it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, things of that nature. We have those things today. So these guys aren't getting away with stuff like that today. And Rashee Rice is a byproduct of that, if in fact this is true, man. So call the Wolf. You better call him. It'd be stupid if you didn't. But I don't know how much the Wolf can really do in this situation when it comes to keeping things copacetic without real penalties following it, man, because Rashee Rice has really put himself in a predicament here that I don't know if the Chiefs themselves can even get him out of.
Yeah, very well said. Vanessa Parker again said, that was my very thought. How could someone get that close to Rashee for this incident to even happen? So maybe the cameraman is somewhat at fault. And again, this is all rumor, that what I just read from that Dallas Global Daily report. And so we'll see kind of where this goes from there. But James Palmer, who used to be with NFL Network, was on Steve Smith's show and said Rashee's going to be suspended. Let's just put it out there. They, meaning the Chiefs, are expecting half a season at least. And now with this added on, of course, the legal process has to play out. Roger Goodell said that many times before they do go into suspension. So we'll see if the lawyers, Royce White for Rashee Rice, will kind of delay that and keep things moving slowly through the court system so we can play the season and then deal with that later. Or if the process moves forward and he's suspended for this season, we'll see 8 games, 10, the whole season. People are wanting the whole season now. It seems like a lot of Chiefs Kingdom are talking about the whole season. Maybe he deserves that. And so I don't know, Clint, this is a messy situation here. And it's just getting messier by the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And this is what we talk about, and you're trying to win a 3rd Super Bowl. We've talked about this being the gold standard. We talk about how it's hard to do a show here. There's a lot of Chiefs shows, a lot that have popped up in the last 5 years since Patrick Mahomes got here. Everybody wants to talk about the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are at F1. They're at Kentucky Derbies. Man, they're out there. They're the stars of all the stars, man. There is no one bigger, no one more popular in the country than these athletes right here. And when you have things like this that get in the way of future glory, man, as a fan, it just makes your blood boil. And of course, you want things to go, you just want it to go away. That's your first thought. Like, no one's hurt. Can we get through this without something happening? But you also have to think about the legal ramifications and what this young man, Rashee's doing and what he's doing to himself and the future that he's causing himself. There's a lot to this, a lot of layers. He could have really hurt somebody on that highway if that had gone differently, like Henry Ruggs. We're talking about a whole different situation. So you hate to have the off season that you're talking about this stuff in May, guys. It's not becoming, it's not fun. We should be talking about, Hulk Hogan and Patrick Mahomes posing for a picture together at the damn F1 race, which by the way, was my favorite photo that's ever been taken in the world. My 2 favorite people, 2 heroes. And then, I captured that photo of Brett Veach in the Bret the Hitman Hart jacket. Somehow that kind of got going and people were excited about that. Brett Veach rocking.
Poor
that.
choice.
Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be.
Because Brian's an HBK guy, and so am I.
Poor choice.
Because you're an HBK. You're an HBK guy.
I understand it. Okay. Cause the whole Brett, thing. Okay. Whatever. But I'm a click guy through and through.
Yeah. I'm with you.
We hate Bret Hart. Period.
Brett screwed Brett. Okay.
He sure the hell did. But let me say this though. One thing about Bret Hart that I hate, he's like the Raiders to me, okay? To put it in Chiefs terms. Bret Hart is the Raiders. Shawn Michaels is the Chiefs. And Bret Hart had the best theme music next to HBK and NWO and DX and Triple H, of course. But his theme music was top notch. It was. Not the early one in 92. The one in like 94. 95.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. All right. And excellence of execution. I love that phrase. I really do. And the best there is, that was spot on. So I will give him that. Other than that, he can go to hell.
HBK was in on it. HBK was in on it.
HBK was certainly in on it.
And you see who's running the damn company in 2024.
And XC, baby. HBK is still around.
The click is going to run this business. HBK said that.
Bret Hart's out there just complaining about Bill Goldberg ending his career. And it's just great to see the classic wrestlers that we grew up with being linked to our guys. You saw Patrick Mahomes on Monday Night Raw last week with Triple H himself, getting into it with Braun Strowman, getting into it with the Yeet Man himself over there, Jey Uso. I mean, this connection is great. Now, that's the stuff that we should be doing Arrowhead Allies shows on, guys, is fun stuff like that. That's the way we like to live. Here we live Lance, I like to wear pink hats in the summertime, and I'm like living in Hawaii in the 80s. That's what I do.
Nah, I had to stop watching wrestling after like 2002.
You're right to do so.
We've got Jacob Schwant over here, not realizing this is a Chiefs show, saying Skull Vikes on TikTok. So
he knows. Jacob knows. He's my
J.J. McCarthy over there and Sam Darnold.
Look, the Vikings took over Arrowhead, though. All right, we got to be honest.
I was there.
In 2019, my jaw dropped.
Yep.
It was 60% Vikings fans at Arrowhead.
At least.
And they did the skull. Bro, it seemed like the whole damn stadium was doing that.
Yeah.
Nice chant, by the way. I like that. I can
and nice people.
They are.
They were super nice. Yeah.
Maybe they knew like Mahomes was out, sell the tickets, let them come and watch Matt Moore.
And the Chiefs
And
won
we
anyway with Matt
still
Moore.
won.
Yeah, baby.
Tyreek Hill beat Damian Williams to the end zone.
He's like holding on to his arm. He thought it was a defender at first. Dude, like shot over. Oh shit! Oh, okay, it's you. Okay.
That was a good game to be at, though.
Yeah, it was.
What a good
The
game.
atmosphere was insane.
I would say the Chiefs don't win Super Bowl 54 without winning that game.
I would agree.
Perhaps.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
You
with
lose
that.
you would lost the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Because we became the 2 seed thanks to a Dolphins victory over the Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we don't come back 24-0 from the Texans. I was at that game too.
Well, that is,
wow. Yeah.
My
we
favorite
racked
game of all
up so
time.
many moments. God, so many moments, guys.
And we have to thank Alex Smith for all of them. He helped mentor Patrick Mahomes.
man.
And he turned 40 today.
My
He's
man.
a couple months younger than me.
You know, I'm glad you brought up Alex Smith.
Alex, what's up, Alex?
Can I leave?
Do you all remember opening day 2016? Do you remember that game?
I do. It's Chargers overtime.
Oh man, look, everybody had left, and like the middle of the third quarter, people like Arrowhead was emptying out. I got front row seats to this masterful comeback as Alex Smith. We owe him so many flowers. I hope the Chiefs just like gifted him a Super Bowl ring or two, and everybody, I think we all can agree, if it wasn't for him, this would not be happening at all. He's really stabilized a franchise that we were at our lowest in 2012. Like I'm not sure if you can get any lower than where the Chiefs were. If we were directionless, like Pioli was out here, complaining about people dropping bubblegum paper and not picking it up at Arrowhead.
Well, not where we are without Pioli and Romeo Cornell either.
Just you're right. Just we were at our lowest, and Alex Smith solved a position for the most part. We didn't win Super Bowls, but look, man, from 2-14 to where we went with Alex Smith, love him.
No, that's a nice story. The problem though is that Alex Smith also wasted 3 top 10 defenses that could have been. I mean, let's put it. Brian said it. Alex is a salt of the earth human being, no question about it. That's one of the coolest people I've ever run across. He's a good dude,
Smart guy.
Yes, character, all that. But we saw the same movie every single season, man.
Yes.
We knew what was going to happen at the end of the season, and it always ended up. Even their one playoff win they had with Alex, it had nothing to do with Alex. They won literally 30-0, and the first play of the game won the Chiefs the game. Niall Davis returning the kickoff.
Yep.
I mean,
we were there. Clint and I were in the stadium, NRG, baby.
We were going this. We're number 1.
Oh, you all were there?
I did this. After we won our
nice.
first playoff game in 24 years, we did this.
So I think Alex Smith gets a lot of credit, guys, for the team not sucking while he played. But let's be honest, man. Like we were dying for playoff wins, and there's a reason why the Chiefs traded up 17 spots while they still had Alex Smith under contract. It wasn't just because they were big on Patrick Mahomes; they knew it was time. They had to go and get a guy, and so I think that's what happened. Alex Smith, credit to you, man. I appreciate the fact that dude has made himself. I think he's incredible, by the way, on TV. If you guys on Monday Night Football, that dude is so good. He's a good-looking dude. He has great takes. He's efficient with his thought processes. I like the way he does things on TV, man.
First time he's been exciting on TV is when he joined ESPN as an analyst. So.
That's my whole point, man. I was like, I'll try to keep it in context here, man.
I've had an argument. Who you taking? Trent Green or Alex Smith?
Trent Green.
Nah. 4 straight 4,000-yard seasons.
Trent Green.
Straight 4,000
from
yards.
2001 to
in
2005.
This era of football?
Yes. In fact, even
You're
more so.
Trent
yeah.
Green, y'all know Trent Green could not run.
That's fine. Neither can Tom Brady. Neither can Matt Ryan. Neither can.
So Trent Green's arm is that much stronger than Alex Smith's arm.
It's a lot better accurately downfield. That's the thing he was great at. He can deliver accurately downfield with precision. That's something Alex.
That's Green Bay Packers how they like his downfield throwing arm with Eddie Kennison.
Hold on, real quick. Trent Green. We all know the offense ran through Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson, correct? Okay.
And
in that era, yes, thank you. One of the greatest offensive lines ever constructed with Tony Richardson, I might add.
Say that.
But here's the thing. From 2001 to 2005, the only quarterbacks that had more yards and touchdown passes than Trent Green,
Peyton Manning,
and Brett Favre.
Brett Favre, yeah.
Great. Trent Green had as many playoff wins as Matt Blunden. So
Brian,
Trent,
we're gonna put that on Trent Green a no punt game.
Alex Smith.
When Alex Smith won that game against the Colts. When Alex Smith won that game in 2004, 2003, 2004 against the Colts.
Not sure, but he should have won in 2000. He should have won in 2013.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? Yes, he would have won. Yes, he would have. He would have won a game in 2003. Why wouldn't he?
Here, Brian,
you all just said it. You all just said it. Best O-line, best tight end in the game at the time.
Okay, so what did
best running back?
What did Trent Green do wrong in that game? What did Trent Green do wrong in that game? Because as I recall, Tony Gonzalez got a BS call on him in the end zone. And Trent Green put the ball on the money.
Missed field goal.
Okay,
right. Those are on Trent Green, bro. And he had a horrible defense.
Alex Smith can't match that. Alex Smith has had some fantastic playoff games for the Chiefs.
The one game that they lost by blowing a 28-point lead?
That's Alex Smith's fault.
Didn't score a touchdown.
You're making my point. I didn't put that on Alex Smith. I'm saying that you've got to give Trent Green the credit for putting a team that had literally a bottom 5 defense as the number 1 seed in the AFC. He threw over 4,300 yards that season. He had low touchdown totals. That's because they ran the ball every damn time.
Chiefs were the number 2 seed.
Were they number 2? I thought they won 13-3 and
Patriots were 1. Yeah,
thank you, 14-2. The point is they were 9-0 to start the season. They had the number 1 offense. And they had Eddie Kennison as their number 1 wide receiver. And he still threw for over 4,000 yards, like 25, 26 touchdowns. When Priest was running the ball.
Priest and Tony. Hey, man, look, Alex Smith. Okay, he's more mobile, just as accurate, equal arm strength with Trent Green.
Well, we're going to see someone that was there that played with Alex is going to come in and set this straight for us right now. It is none other than Justin March, undrafted free agent from the Kansas City Chiefs, 2015 to 2016. Justin, what's up?
AKA
Hey, how's it going?
March. Can you guys hear me? How's it going?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Kind of out here at my son. We just had a flag football game. So
awesome. Looks like great weather here. It's spring. You look good, my friend.
Awesome.
And
what's up, you? Are they getting the W right now?
Oh, actually, we just lost by 2 points our last regular season game. So we still got playoffs. We still got a shot. So today they decided to do everything backwards. So they did everything completely opposite than they did yesterday. So
Justin, you're coming here at the tail end of a little argument we had. It's Alex Smith's 40th birthday today. And, we were talking about Trent Green back in the day versus like an Alex Smith. You played with Alex Smith. Talk about him. What you know about him as a person, obviously an incredibly smart, a guy that was in there and dedicated, and a really good guy. Just talk about Alex and what it was like playing with him.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, Alex Smith is one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever came across. I remember bringing my family and some of my wife's family to a game, and they were backstage wanting to meet some of the players, and Alex Smith was one of the first people to come up and meet some young kids. And my father-in-law, who's a little bit older, so he kind of had an impact on me. Also, as I played across from him, he kind of taught me the ins and outs of what a quarterback might be thinking on certain plays, which I thought was also of him, talking to a rookie when I first came in like that. So he's just an amazing human being, first and foremost, amazing competitor. I don't think there was ever a day in practice where, he didn't do everything that he could to make the most of that opportunity and succeeding that day, as well as, just the other practices when it was supposed to be a little bit more relaxed. You can see how focused he was. He was always dialed in, and great competitor, great quarterback for the Chiefs, for sure. Great quarterback overall, great person.
Well, let me first of all say it's great to get in March and May. It's really good to have you here, man. Glad to have you here. Glad that we appreciate you taking the time to be with us, man. A couple of questions I had to ask is the position you play. I think that a lot of times in today's NFL, the linebacker position gets underappreciated to some degree. I think because of the fact that we've seen some teams in recent years, even the 2019 Chiefs, win the Super Bowl with, some mediocre linebacker play, in particular in the middle of the field. But we've seen teams rely on their linebacker play to make ultimate difference. And we've seen the Chiefs go and get Drew Tranquil, an absolute stud, that he made a difference in this defense when Nick Bolton goes down. Nick Bolton, he wears the green dot. We've seen Leo Chenal become something. We've seen Willie Gay make big plays. We've seen the Chiefs in particular have some really good linebacker play. Do you agree with me on that? That I think that the linebacker position gets almost treated like the running back position sometimes, where people forget that you got to be sturdy there to make a deep playoff push a lot more times than not.
Yeah, I think before you used to be able to have like two solid backers, Mike Backer, who was taking on a lot of the blocking, taking on a lot of the fullbacks, and, a real thumper. And then you kind of had the Will, who was more likely, a man-to-man coverage on tight ends, running backs, things like that. Now we're kind of seeing it shift as the running back did to like a little bit more of a committee deal. So if you can find you maybe 3 to 4 guys that you are confident in, because we know how injuries are when it comes to these linebackers and everything like that in the game of football. Now you're seeing the linebacker by committee type of rule. And then also within that committee, you have 2 studs that you feel like can go out there and play, 3 to 4 downs on any given night, as well as your backup backers as well. So I think you're right in saying that a lot of the linebacker play now is so important because, the game has evolved to linebackers got to be able to play screens. They got to be able to play the run. They got to be able to, play the pass, play man-to-man coverage, play underneath, guard the quarterbacks on scramble plays. So your linebackers are more of a staple than they might have used to been because the overall offensive play is evolving. And I think that's been like the major key. Whereas like before, like I said, you have a thumper, you have a coverage guy. Now with the involvement of the all the nick and crannies of different offenses, you see the linebacker becoming more important, because there was kind of a stretch there where a lot of linebackers lost jobs because you could bring down a safety in the box and he could play linebacker. Well, now we're seeing that kind of got exposed a little bit because they're like, man, now these guys aren't as big. Let's just pound and pound and pound and run the ball. So now they went back to the linebacker of, hey, we got to find two athletic guys who can play the run, play the pass, and that's becoming like a trademark in the NFL.
Man, glad to have you on the show, man. Just wanted to get your thoughts and input on what some of these rookies and undrafted rookies are going through right now as rookie minicamp just wrapped up. What are some of the things that they're thinking about? What are some of the things that they think that they need to improve upon?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with any audition, as you would say, I think everybody's wondering, will I have a job tomorrow? Will I have a job? Will I have another shot? Was this my last shot? And to think like that is a normal human feeling, normal rookie, feeling. But I've always said to, be thankful for the opportunity that you do get and do it to the best of your ability, because no matter where you come from, there's still an opportunity out there that's yours. And I think that mentality is what's going to be the difference for a lot of these guys, because there's an opportunity out there, whether it's with the Chiefs, whether it's with another team, any of the other teams out there, there's going to be an opportunity. Now it's just about claiming it as yours and then going and obviously execute. And I feel like the biggest thing is, can you execute under pressure? There's going to be a lot of plays in the playbook that's going to be thrown at you. Obviously rookie minicamp, they saw a little bit of taste of that. And then the guys who got signed as undrafted, don't think don't think your spot is safe, because there's guys that's going to come to rookie minicamp during training camp and rookie mini camp in June that's looking for a spot. So you always got to stay hungry. You're never safe, is what I kind of felt like. But I was always trying to take somebody's job at the same time. So I wanted those guys to feel like, those guys that were starters and that had got drafted, that their job wasn't safe because of the pressure I was applying, and then realizing that I could be replaced at any moment, regardless of what my assignment was, whether that be, I signed as an undrafted free agent. I was never guaranteed anything. So I think a lot of these guys are like, they're kind of getting into that where nothing's really guaranteed, and it's not. And unfortunately, there's not too much about life that's guaranteed, as we know, outside of death. So, and taxes, they would say. So we know those things are guaranteed. Other than that, it's all about, competing and trusting and believing in yourself and your skill set, and, that you belong.
Well, Justin, I wanted to say real quick, sorry, Noah, but there's another thing there's actually another thing that's guaranteed. It's Patrick Mahomes coming back from a 10-point deficit. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, there we go. Love that guy. So
Justin, in 2015, 2016, you played for Andy Reid. You also in 2016 played with young Tyreek Hill, a young Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce. Talk about kind of those 4 guys, what your remembrances are of them, and how good it is to see them have the success now that you're looking from afar.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost about Andy Reid, such a great coach, such a great human being, excellent football mind, as everyone knows now. And I just remember going out there and competing as a rookie, and him coming up to me and say, just give me a fist bump. And that's all I kind of needed for motivation, was a fist bump from Andy Reid. I feel like I did some good things. And obviously, I played a lot on, the second and third string early on. So I matched up with Travis Kelce a lot. Talk about being a linebacker and having to guard a receiver. I mean, it's pretty crazy, but it helped me be able to, raise my confidence. In that, obviously Tyreek Hill, blazing speed, still has some speed, but back then was even crazier. And then obviously Chris Jones, I think it's funny how much he's grown up since those days, because he was kind of like the biggest, most immature person out there from a football fun standpoint, not as an immature person, but just as a player. But him being around Tamba, being around Justin Houston, being around Derek Johnson, all those guys. Once everyone kind of left, it became his show on defense, and I think that was like one of the best things that ever happened to him, was because that basically forced you to have to mature into a football player like we see him do, and we obviously still see him dancing and having that immature spirit, which we love and everybody loves. So he's a great guy, great person. All of those guys are great.
Well, Justin, you wound up playing in the league for 7 years. Each season, did you feel like you kind of had to almost press the reset button and you had to be that guy out there with something to prove, that being an undrafted free agent, that you had to continue to prove yourself each and every year? And did you live with like a lot of stress, knowing that, man, I could get cut at any moment. This could be the training camp that I get cut and I got to go pick up with another team? Because I think in 2021 you went to like camp with almost like every team in the National Football League. What was that like, just year to year, like knowing that you had to continue to prove yourself?
I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of stressful because you never could really feel comfortable, from a living standpoint, from a mental standpoint. But I think the game of football, all that noise is kind of blocked out. At least it was for me whenever I touched the football field. Whenever I put on cleats, whenever I smelled the fresh smell of football pads in the fall, it was always one of those feelings that I felt like all the stress kind of went away, because I'm here to compete. And even if I don't make it to wherever my next destination is, I still had an opportunity to give football back everything that it gave me each and every, team I went to. I kind of had the same motivation I always did. I always felt like I wanted to be a starter. I always felt like I wanted to. But then I also had to adapt, right? My role adapt from, I'm coming in as an undrafted free agent, playing a little bit of special teams, winning the starting spot, to now I'm a journeyman, and then I'm going on and doing those different things because now you're trying to stay on the roster. You're trying to stay alive. And I think that was the hardest part mentally, is like you have to keep your mind going to the point where you're like, man, do I not have what I think I have, because I'm constantly on different teams. I'm constantly, so there's a time where like some people will lose confidence, but like I said, for me, it was all about, if I touched a football field, I would give it as much as I had each and every single day, and I just let it fall where it did. And I landed up on some, I landed with some amazing organizations, played with a lot of great players, a lot of great linebackers. And I think just all of that combined kind of helped shape me as a football player. And I'm just thankful for that, because now I can go back and I can tell my son whenever a team pops up, oh, I play for that team. So he just assumes I play for every team in the NFL. But we have quite a few different jerseys with his last name on it. And he's like, are we Chiefs fans? Are we Cowboys fans? You play for the Niners? Like, I said, listen, I play for whoever called me. So that was awesome. It definitely was a crazy journey, but I'm thankful and I'm fortunate that it happened. It taught me a lot about resiliency. Taught me a lot about finding a role. It taught me a lot about just kind of accepting that role and dominating in that role. And I think that'll be a lot of the undrafted players' identity. Like, you have to find a role on special teams. I didn't come from a background that, like, I played much special teams, but I came from the background of being a competitor. So if I had 12 plays to go out there and compete, I would do as much as I can in those 12 plays, even if it was fair catches. I still went down there trying to knock heads off. That was always my MO. But that's just competition, man. I feel like if there's any type of competition out there, I kind of wanted that. And then it was like a challenge, I went to, other teams. I was at the bottom of the roster, barely hanging on. That was a little bit more motivation to keep going. 2021 was a crazy year. I was on a lot of different flights, a lot of different teams. That kind of messed with me mentally. Obviously, my kids were getting a lot older at that time. So that was a little bit more difficult, but it was still the same agenda, same motivation. And, I got to play 7 years in the NFL, which a lot of people can't say. So I'm definitely humbled and definitely fortunate to be able to say that.
Hey, I wanted to ask Jay. I wanted to ask you a couple questions here, man, real quick. First of all, I was going to see if you wanted to do a business opportunity, because you have two last names. I was thinking if we did like a March-Lillard. My last name's Twidwell. We did like a March-Lillard Twidwell. We could start a law firm. I think that'd be kind of cool, man. I don't know.
That's like the perfect name. That's like
I'm just throwing it out. We'll exchange information after the show. But
sounds great.
My two-parter I have for you, man, is it kind of piggybacks off of what Clint was just asking you about. Being a You had your fair share of experiences across the league, man. And something I've always been so obsessed with, and every NFL player I've ever talked to, whether current or former, I always want to know about culture. I always want to know about the differences in culture. I don't want to necessarily have you rank the cultures that you went to? Because I feel like you might, feel pressure, like, oh, the Chiefs are the best, culture. But now, you spent a lot of time in Dallas. You went to New Orleans. You went to other places like that. From a cultural perspective of not just being in the building, but the cities, like, what did you take away from all the places you went to? Well, how did that help you groom as a player, become a better man, a better player? Like, did it help? Did it hurt? Like, what were certain experiences that you had across the league and across those cities, man, in America, man?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I'm definitely thankful that my career started off in Kansas City. Such a humble community, such a lot of great people, a lot more Midwest, kind of like I grew up. So I was kind of used to that type of feel. So it obviously gets a little bit more hot than it does in Illinois, but definitely Kansas City. Great food, great hospitality, laid back. And then obviously going to Miami, that's a completely different beast down there. The humidity's down there. I was never really that much of a beach person, so for me to be there, it was kind of like I'm not really much of a beach person. My wife is, so she was excited. I was like, okay, it's kind of cool, but I've never been like that. I've kind of been like Midwest, and obviously going to Dallas, that was a completely different beast as well, just because everything's brighter, bigger. Obviously, all the lights playing with the Dallas Cowboys, you kind of have the scope on you all the time. Obviously, the name holds weight, so you can kind of which some people would abuse. I never really did, but you can kind of get into any place you really wanted to just because you play for the Cowboys. At the times, I'm sure the Chiefs are growing like that just about now. So those were some unique places. Like I said, Arrowhead, that experience was a little bit more football, a little bit more grungy, outdoor type deal. And then as far as the Cowboys, it was a little bit more, a little bit more flashy, a little bit more showy, kind of everything you would imagine it to be, which was awesome. Both places were awesome, which where I spent most of my time. And I had, the brief stops, obviously all over the place. I want to say the most unique experience I had was getting called on a Sunday night to go play for the New Orleans Saints, with one call. Going and doing that. Got called on a Sunday night, went and played Monday Night Football, and then went from there to the Raiders. And I think that was kind of like a unique experience because you never really can plan for that. So I think 2021, I worked out for a lot of teams, I played for a lot of teams, and I kind of traveled all over to have these unique experiences. But it did help shape me as a player because I had to go in and compete and deal with those different environments. Obviously, being in Vegas for a little bit, that was pretty crazy. So it did help shape me as a person. I'm glad I got to see all those places because I'm not one that I go and travel, but being able to play on those different teams, I can tell my kids, hey, I went, I spent time in all these different places, which was awesome. And then just as a player, like you go in, you see different schemes, different things, which I think helps me whenever I become an evaluator, whether that's on the scouting side or a coach, because I've got to see different game plans. I got to see different systems. I got to fight my way into being on the field in those different systems. And I think that's what I would say shaped my football character and me as a man, learning more about football than I feel like I ever would if I had only played for one team. Because now I got to go and I got to adapt a different coaching philosophy. And I got to see, players and how they responded to, maybe Andy Reid versus how they responded to Jason Garrett, and got to take good things from every single place I've been at, got to take, good things from different linebackers that I play with and kind of implement that into my game, which made it easier for the next team and the next team and so on and so forth. So I think all those different experiences the great thing about the NFL is it's so diverse and it all has different type of cultures. There's some teams where nobody really talks, but then, when you're on the field, everybody's talking and communicating. There's times where, there's people talking all over the place in the locker room, get on the field and it's super serious and, you really don't hear too much. So a lot of different places. I think the NFL is one of the most beautiful organizations just in general from that standpoint, because you do see all these different, cultural aspects that come into play. But I believe that all of them are great in their own retrospect. The ones that I played for, I felt like all had a unique experience for myself personally. I met a lot of great guys. I want to say with every team I played on, I probably, took three or four good friends with me that I still talk to this day. So.
Oh yeah, and real quick, I don't want to hog the mic too long, guys, but one final question I have for you. This is something I find really interesting to ask athletes. I've asked this question before. Growing in high school, I did a lot of theater. I'm sure that's a real shocker to you. And I also played baseball. That was the sport I absolutely loved. I played baseball, and whenever I watch any theatrics or I watch movies, TV shows, and I watch baseball, I can't watch it from just a fan's perspective. Or I always am analyzing. I'm always being super analytical. When it comes to football, at any level, do you just get to sit back and just watch it? Or are you like, man, I would do this, I would put them there, I would do that? Is how do you watch football, man?
I think for me it depends on the team and the coaches that are kind of going against each other. So like if I'm really trying to dissect, certain games, I'll kind of dissect it. But if like let's say Patrick Mahomes is facing, Aaron Rodgers or something, I'm just there as a fan. Like I really want to see some good football. I want to see the ball, slung around, all that kind of stuff. But definitely at youth football games, I'm always like, I kind of have this plan for how I think things should go as a youth football coach. My son's flag team, and they just don't do it. I'm like, man, I don't know how Andy Reid does it. Like, so I'm always trying to like I think today I had like a double reverse on the thing. I tried to get in my Andy Reid bag a little bit. Didn't really work out how I wanted it to. But I definitely see it from both perspectives, and it just really for me it depends on who's playing, on how I'm really trying to watch it. So whenever the Chiefs get down in the red zone, I'm a little bit more excited for what's to come. So I try to say, okay, I try to guess what's coming, and I'm never right. So with Andy Reid, it's tough. It's tough. That one's tough. But I feel like there's a lot of a lot of times where I do find myself dissecting it, whether it's down in distance. Definitely on third down, you're usually trying to, the third to medium, third to long, you're trying to say, okay, they should run this. Or if there's a play that a team got beat on early in the first quarter, and we're in third or fourth quarter, I'm like, hey, they should come back to it. Sometimes they do, which is cool. Or if somebody's, if Kelsey has a mismatch, I'm usually looking at that. Obviously, the Niners, I'm kind of dissecting their linebacker and core, kind of seeing what they're doing. The Baltimore Ravens defensive scheme. I'm looking at all these different things, and I think it just depends on the team. Some teams I'm more excited to go out there and watch as a fan, and then some teams I'm more excited to go and just kind of learn their system and try to put some of those things back for myself. So I watch it in both perspectives, and I think it honestly just depends. If it's just me and my wife, because she's gotten probably sick and tired of me talking about football, I usually try to watch it as a fan, and my son, and they're like, oh, we love Jamar Chase or whatever it is, that kind of stuff. And then, if it's like me and my brothers, I'm like dissecting everything. I'm like, hey, he's going to do this just to say I told you so. So that's whenever I feel like I have to go in my football bag and bring out the football side of it, I do. So
that makes sense.
Yep. Man, I like the linebacker discussion we had earlier, man. And I remember the transition used to be from cornerback to safety. Rod Woodson comes to mind. Aeneas Williams from the Cardinals and Rams come to mind as well. But now it seems like the way that linebackers are built is like the transition could be from safety to linebacker now. Do you see like some safeties that could transition to linebacker, like seeing how the game is played now, seeing how like nickelbacks and on dime defenses, sometimes they just take a linebacker completely off the field and replace him with a safety. Do you think that's like inevitable on defense now?
I think it's going back to trying to find a linebacker that can play similar to a DB, as I stated earlier, because of the run. There's a lot of screens, and sometimes linebackers know how to navigate them a little bit better. Working inside out. Obviously, safeties and corners work a little bit better outside in, all that kind of stuff. So I think the game is changing back to where teams are trying to find two solid stud linebackers as opposed to having to rotate a DB in because. Obviously, the run factor, the screen draw factor, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's kind of, I think that's a good question. I feel like depending on the person or the player, there's some players that can transition super easy from safety to linebacker because they've been thumpers, and then it makes it easier for them. So I think that transition is still a lot easier to go from safety, especially if you're known to be a thumper, and go in there. And then it's usually, can you handle when a linebacker actually goes down and then you're the next linebacker up? To have to start linebacker and then you have to deal with some of the gap and pull scheme. I think that's the factor that's like a little bit hard for some guys because they really don't see pullers and the gap scheme stuff, the traps and all that kind of stuff early on. It's only so much you can do in practice, obviously, but when you get into the football game, it's a little bit different. So I think it just depends. I think it just depends on the player. Obviously, some guys that have been play safety for a long time, but they're always in a box, they're a little bit more comfortable doing that. So I know. So I just think that it just depends on the player, but I do think there's a market for guys or teams trying to find two guys that they can rely on to run and hit because it's more of a scare tactic nowadays. As opposed to like you throw a DB in there nowadays, they're going to check run. They don't care what down the distance it is. And then, it's like a confidence thing because if O-lineman gets a hold of a DB, it can be a nightmare. And I think some guys that, they transition over to linebacker, once they get hands put on them, it's a little bit different. So I think it
Yeah.
just depends. It's a little bit different when you put a safety in there and they get hands put on them, by some big old linemen. And I think that's like a fear scare tactic where once that does happen, they kind of revert to playing a little bit softer, like they were used to, because they're not used to it. So
Yeah, and Justin, I want to ask you, obviously, the competition committee met earlier this offseason and banned the hip drop tackle. You was a former linebacker. I want to get your thoughts on that going away. Do you think that's a good thing? Does that limit the defense even more where they're already extremely limited? Seems like everything's geared towards the offense. Now this just helps them more.
yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm kind of like on both sides of the fence because I feel like that's something that can be coached out. That technique of a tackle, it can be coached out by finding different ways of bringing the guy down. Then there's also the football side of me that have played. I'm like, sometimes there's just nothing else you can do, from stopping somebody from getting a first down, and then that sets up first down to get a touchdown to win the game. And we all know how important winning games is in this business. The coaches' jobs are on the line, the players' jobs are on the line. So I can't really say that it's a good or a bad thing. I think we just have to see how it'll play out. Will it be something that's flagged and fined more than it is flagged? You know what I mean? Like they might try to do it where like if you do that tackle, they'll give you a major fine, and then that'll force you to play a little bit differently, like they did with some of the other stuff, defenseless receivers and all that kind of stuff. They just kind of did it with the fine tactic, where it's like, hey, we're gonna find you a bunch of money, so guys really don't do it. But I think it can be coached out if we find different ways. But it's kind of hard because there's a lot of big shifty tight ends nowadays. And I think a lot of it happens on the tight ends and running backs and sometimes the receivers when they're cutting in. But guys are a lot shiftier, I feel like in most recent years than they were, back in 2015, 16, all that kind of stuff. Guys are super shifty. So you can get out of position in a heartbeat and then you have no choice but to try to bring them down. So I think it's a little bit too much for not like defensive players because you can't horse collar, obviously. The drop tackle kind of goes in that horse collar type, era. You really can't hit below the knees too much, all that kind of stuff. So it's like at this point, the only thing is to go for the knees or the ankles or the feet, and we start seeing a lot more, knee injuries again and stuff like that. So it's really, really hard to say. I think football is just a dangerous sport, and I think every guy that signs up for it has known that since they were 5 years old. So I think all the players would say, hey, we don't need that hip drop tackle, except for the guys that have obviously been injured and to change their career, which we have to keep in mind that a lot of these guys, Kenyon Drake, I think Alan Hearns was there. He messed up his ankle. Dak Prescott, all from that same kind of tackle. So you get guys, Tony Pollard. Hopefully he bounces right back when he's in Tennessee. But a lot of these guys, it changed their entire career just based on the fact of that kind of tackle. So I see why it's why it's banned, but also don't know exactly how they'll implement it, whether that be through flag or fine.
Very well said. And how's life after football, man? Are you back in Danville, Illinois? Also the home of Dick Van Dyke. Turned 98 years old this week.
Listen, I go back there towards the end of this month for a youth football camp. But other than that, I'm not really too much back home. I'm stationed out here in North Texas in Dallas. So this is kind of, I played majority of my career here. So this is kind of where I settled down, me and my family. So we're out here these days. Like I said, I'm just coaching, my son's flag football team. And that is a different beast when you talk about trying to get kids to listen. If you have kids out there, you know what I mean. You tell them things 5 or 6 times, they just won't do it.
Since you're in Texas, could you help us maybe try to get Rashee Rice to listen? That'd be nice. I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I just read that news. And I'm like, man, if you it's kind of tough when you go back to where you went to college with a Super Bowl ring. And, obviously people know who you are now. They're a little bit more inclined to pick with you at, certain nightclubs. So don't put yourself in a position. And then obviously the rec thing, obviously that's unfortunate. But I think just better decision making overall when when you're coming off a Super Bowl win. And that goes for anybody, and not just football players, but a lot of normal people out there who make a lot of horrible decisions. I just hope that they find the right path, everybody in life, because it is a tough place, man. Life is a very hard place to be. So a lot of people deal with a lot of things. So I'm not going to be on him too hard, but I can see why, as a fan and as obviously an organization, as anybody, while you're like, hey, you got a lot more to lose than a lot of average people. So I think that's the thing. You got a lot more to lose because the whole organization kind of not really owns you, but you're employed. You're employed by that team. That's a billion-dollar business. So you have to follow the rules and regulations of that company. And I think that's what should be. Should just do the right thing and don't put yourself in a position.
Justin, thank you so much for your time, man. Follow at JMarch on X. Yep. And good luck with the flag football, my friend. Keep in touch. We'll have you on again. This has been a blast, man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a good day.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Yeah.
That was Justin March, a.k.a. Justin March-Lillard from the Kansas City Chiefs, 2015 and 2016. Back in Brian's glory days as a fan. I know those days just shine bright. They were horrifying for me. But
maybe my worst time as a Chiefs fan.
2016 was the year that I got season tickets. So yeah, it was a good year.
Noah and I were at that lovely playoff game where the Steelers did not score a touchdown.
I was there too
and lost.
Nicest thing and that was Alex Smith is that he wasn't too good to where we kept him and then didn't have Patrick Mahomes. Didn't extend. Well, we don't need Patrick Mahomes. Alex Smith's doing great here. And he wasn't so awful that we replaced him. And then we were like in the first couple of years of a new quarterback. And we're like, oh, well, we got to see where this goes. We can't draft Mahomes here.
Perfect.
So he was right in that wheelhouse of leading us to Patrick Mahomes. And I thank him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, wheelhouse of average. I love it.
I just want to add about Justin, man. You know what I liked about Justin is he, we've had on the Spoken, we've had some, a lot of former players, current players, guys like that on not just football guys, but, former athletes. And it's always good when you get an athlete on that actually wants to talk the sport and isn't short, isn't sitting here trying to get through the interview. Like you could tell he actually genuinely likes talking football. Like I really enjoyed listening. He was a very articulate dude, man. We better get him back on the show, damn it, because he was good.
Yeah, very
good.
For
sure, especially during the season and kind of what we're seeing, maybe where we're seeing in training camp.
Good,
man. Yeah, he'll definitely be able to dissect that and let us know what's going on, give us the expert opinion. So.
Well, we'll see. As Arrowhead Allies goes, we do shows, especially during the off season when we get guests, which is pretty frequently. So we try to keep it coming as much as we can. We'll see what we can dig up for you guys here as we start heading into the spring and summer months here. As we try to take in these last couple months of the off season before things get really crazy. And guys, things are going to get beyond crazy coming into the season. I just got to warn you, if you love what you've seen so far in Arrowhead Allies here this spring, just you wait, buckle it up for September. Okay,
Chiefs signed a rookie invite from Villanova receiver Jaron Hayek. We've been in contact with him, so when we get that scheduled, you will see us back here. And if anything else pops up, of course, you will see us back here on Arrowhead Allies.
Yeah, that's right. Lance is about to go get him a Royale with cheese.
That's right,
go.
Until next time,
and French fries and mayonnaise.
You gotta love it.
That.
Oh, cheese.
Where's she racing back there?